All right, and we are live. I'm gonna give it just a second to see people trickle in for just a few seconds while people get the link that we are live. Okay, there we go. All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Haley, and I'm a bookseller here at the Novel Neighbor, and I'm really excited to hang out with you guys for the next hour. If you don't know who we are the Novel Neighbor, a women-owned and independently operated bookstore located in St. Louis, Missouri. Before I introduce our authors, I wanted to run through the plan for the evening. So our authors will join me here in just a second to celebrate the release of Can't Help Falling in Love, and towards the end of the event, we'll have an audience Q&A. So if you have a question you'd love to ask Sophie or Jayci, you can drop it in the comments of whatever platform you're watching us on. That's enough from me. I'm super excited to introduce our authors for tonight. So Sophie Sullivan is a Canadian writer as well as a cookie-eating, diet Pepsi drinking Disney enthusiast who loves reading and writing romance in almost equal measure. She writes around her day job as a teacher and spends her spare time with her sweet family watching reruns of Friends. She has written 10 Rules for Faking It and How to Love Your Neighbor, and has had plenty of practice writing Happily Ever Afters as her alter ego, Jodie Holford. Tonight, Sophie will be joined in conversation with fellow author Jayci Lee. Jayci Lee writes poignant, sexy, and laugh-out-loud romances featuring Korean-American main characters. Her books have been in O, The Oprah Magazine, Cosmopolitan, Entertainment Weekly, Hollywood Reporter, E! News, and Women's World. Jayci is retired from her 15-year career as a litigator because of all the badass heroines and drool-worthy heroes demanding to have their stories told. Food, wine, and travel are her jam. She makes her home in sunny California with her tall, dark, and handsome husband, two amazing boys, and a fluffy rescue. And tonight, moderating Sophie and Jayci will be our dear friend, Addie Yoder. We absolutely love her here at the Novel Neighbor. We're her number one fan. So we're very excited to spend the evening with her. Addie is a reader, a mom, and a farmer. And on top of all of those things, she runs an incredible podcast called Grace and Growth with Addie. So if you haven't listened to her podcast, you should listen to her podcast. It's great. I literally could not leave you in any better hands. So I'd love to bring Addie and Sophie and Jayci.
I'm totally blushing because Haley.
Oh, that was adorable.
She's so cute. I can't stand it.
Yeah. She said she's my number one fan. I am their number one fan. The Novel Neighbor is supremo. So I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, so let's get started by telling, the important thing is your books, right? That's why we're here. We want to know about books.
Okay. We have some. Yours is still by my bedside. There it is.
Okay. So, and I don't know if, so Sophie Sullivan is my personal friend, which is how I got here. And so I'm going to call her Jodie at the wrong time and be tripping over things. And so, I'm so excited. Jodie, do you want to tell us about your book first, since it comes out today? And then we need to hear about Jayci's books because she's had a really big summer.
Yeah. So Can't Help Falling in Love is about a woman who is kind of stuck in one spot because just a whole bunch of things happened in her life, and she's trying to get back on track with the dreams that she once had. She's waitressing to try and, get out of debt that isn't really her own. And just while she's kind of dealing with the fact that, she hasn't done what she thought she would do, some old high school friends come into the restaurant where she's very poorly waitressing, and she doesn't want to admit that she's a server there. So she just it's completely impulsive, sits down with a customer and says that's her boyfriend. And so it goes from there, and it's kind of just about accepting who you are and accepting where you are and different paths that people take and landing where you're meant to land, I guess. So with some kissing and stuff along the way.
Oh.
Okay, Jayci, tell us about yours.
Okay. Which one? So my rom-com, That Prince Is Mine, came out July 30th. It's a royal foodie rom-com. Emma is a Korean royal court cuisine instructor who thinks she has everything figured out. And Prince Michel is the prince of and crown prince of a small European country. and he has run away from an arranged marriage to find the love of his life. Meanwhile, Emma thinks arranged marriages are the way to go, and has been having horrible first dates when she runs into Michelle, and she has to fight falling in love with him the entire time. And you see these opposites learning that all they need is each other, and it's a sweet and steamy journey. And then my second book is Ninetail. It's a romantasy based on Korean folklore about a sassy sword-wielding nine-tailed fox spirit, and she is out to save the world. So I'll keep it short and sweet like that.
That's awesome.
I think they all have such great covers. Like,
yeah,
all three of them have just
they
fantastic.
do.
So
Is your romantasy through St. Martin's, Jayci?
No, it's through Montlake.
Okay, because I was going to say the St. Martin's covers lately have just been incredible.
Oh yeah, I just did a cover reveal on Friday, so it's been like,
I know.
whoa. Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you so
It's
much.
stunning.
Yay! I'm thrilled.
So tell me about tropes. I
Uh-huh.
like the royal, and I love the fake dating in Jodi's book. How do you choose the tropes you want to write? Do they come to you on your own, or do you go into it knowing like, hey, I want to write this? Obviously, royal would probably be a little bit more specific than fake dating. You have other stuff layered in, but how do you get there?
I go back and read the book and see what's there once I finish writing it.
Me too.
I don't mean to, but
Yeah.
I just handed in a book not too long ago with my editor, and she's like, let's make this tropier. And I was like, okay. So I look through it. I'm like, oh, it could be this one and this one and this one and this one. Right. So then I have to lean into it a little more in the edit rounds. But I mean, this one was always going to be a fake dating one, but in terms of what else was going to come out of it, the found family and things like that, the opposites attract, things like that. I wasn't entirely sure when I went in. And then it just becomes, sometimes I go on like Goodreads or something and look and see what tropes other people put it under so that I know what they are for my own books.
I am so excited that Sophie said that, because I just tell my story and realize that there are tropes in there, because I'm a romance reader and I write what I love. And I realize I've written like 2-3 friends to lovers. That's a favorite of mine. This is my first royal romance, and it was so fun. Michelle is so dreamy.
Yes, he is.
And whatever tropes that readers discover, that's, their golden nugget. It's for them to have. I don't want to take credit for it. It just happened.
Which is the best, I think. It's very cool.
I love that. Because to me, from the outside looking in, I have no intention of ever writing a word other than an email. Like no books in me at all. I just want to read them and be happy. So I really love the magic that it seems like when I get to talk to authors. Like, I don't know, this book just came out of my brain and it seems so like sparkly and fun.
That's a fun way to describe it.
Do your books play like a movie in your brain? Do you see them?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm like transcribing a scene that's happening in my head to the best of my ability. So there's a lot of movement and action and things happening, and I just like write it all down.
Yeah. And I find, especially for me, the first scene is so pivotal. It's all of my books. I can't start them unless I have such a clear picture of, I had the picture of she used to be called Lexi, just stumbling around as a waitress. I had that in my mind for months before I actually wrote it down, because I didn't have the rest of the story. So, I play with that. But even when I'm in the middle of writing, I will think about what's next. And then I'll be like, okay, well, what are they doing in the scene? And kind of play that out. And I'll be like, I'll go to bed and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to go to bed and think now. Right. And I just lay down and think about what's the next scene. And then that's what I end up writing down.
I am a total pantser. So
Yeah.
my books are like an extended daydream. I'm just like, ooh, what if this happens and that happens? And it just, yeah, I'm a magical unicorn.
Yes, nothing wrong with that.
I think that makes it even more special as a reader, that it's like, that makes it more magical, right? Like this thing that I could never do is magic in your brain.
Yeah, all I could promise is that it'll be authentic and raw and vulnerable, even though it's a rom-com. It just pours out of me, so there's no filter or hiding. So I think that makes it harder when people, if they say anything bad about the book, it's like personal.
But it's also what makes people connect more too, right? So you've got those
Yes.
people that
Oh,
for
yes.
whatever reason didn't, but it's why people connect so hard too.
I think so. It's a give and take.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jayci, this book is very heavily based on, like, there's a very strong food theme, a foodie book. But it's not the first time you've had food in your books, is it?
Okay, so I have to make a conscious effort. I tell myself, so this book is not about food, so you're not going to fixate on food. And Nine-Tailed is romantasy, and I thought I succeeded in not focusing on food. But my first call with my editors, they're like, oh my God, the food. And I'm like,
Oh,
dang it, I did it again. So I think my first rom-com, A Sweet Mess, was about a baker, and I talked about food a lot. My second book was about a master brewer at a microbrewery, of course, food involved. And then this one, I just needed, maybe I got it out of my system, guys. Maybe I won't talk about food for maybe a book or half a chapter, whatever. But yeah, it's my ode to my love of food, especially Korean food.
I appreciated the audio of this so much because I got to hear all of the words pronounced correctly, as opposed to how my Midwestern brain would have said them, which would not have been correct.
It's handy. And then I wrote a little quick and dirty guide to Korean for you guys, to help you guys pronounce certain spellings, because Korean romanization is ever evolving and strange even for someone who's fluent in it. So I gave you guys a little guideline to help you be able to speak it in your head if you're reading it. So
Jody, do you find yourself having, and see, I did it again.
Okay, I'll answer to both.
Do you find yourself having any themes like that in your books?
Well, I don't know about food. Mine usually focuses on something to do. I mean, there's anxiety themes and there's the found family piece, right? Like we have really good friends, and I think that kind of weaves into my stories that, the people that you surround yourself with are super important to who you are and how your life goes. And I think that constantly bleeds into my stories, which is why people end up liking the secondary characters so much, right? Makes it easier to do sequels. But yeah, so I mean, I definitely think that there's some typical themes that go throughout with the mental health piece and the found family, and usually someone learning to accept themselves.
So, what are you ladies reading?
Well, I'm reading JC's book. I really, truly am.
I'm in the middle of this.
And I'm also reading, I am reading Melissa Foster again, because we just went back to school and I've got 2 books due and I'm working on stuff. And so then I get really like stressy and I'm like, I just need something that I know how it goes and stuff. And so you can skim a little. So I've been reading those. And then actually for middle grade, I just read a book called On Air, and I am a teacher as well, and so I really like the opportunity to read middle grades as well, and that's kind of a complete break from everything. because I don't know about you, Jayci, but when I read, sometimes I find it really hard to read other romance authors because I'm like, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I think of that? And I'm like, or something that my editor will have had me fix. And I'm like, how come they can do that? Right. So sometimes taking a complete break and not just a cozy mystery is really nice.
I am currently beta reading a historical heist romance by the
Nice.
amazing Christina Britton.
Wow.
And she's so talented.
Mhm.
And I am also reading to blurb April Asher's next paranormal rom-com.
Oh, wow.
So like I don't feel like it's work,
No.
but it's not like a way to shut my brain off. I have to think and
No.
absorb. And honestly, guys, like when I turn in my second book to Nine-Tailed on November 1st, I am going to take like 2 whole weeks off and just like binge watch everything that I've been meaning to. And do you guys like, there's this animation called Invincible, and I'm like dying to watch that. My son's
I
like,
haven't
Mom, you
seen
gotta
it.
watch it with me. But I'm like, God, it's so addicting. I can't right now because I'm
Yeah.
doing so many
My
things.
oldest daughter probably knows. I don't know that one.
Oh, it's so good. I just see glimpses of it. I'm like, I must not.
Yeah. I get that like stuff too.
But yeah. But Rick Riordan
Oh,
got
yeah.
me through a really tough patch in my life.
Yeah.
I've read all his books, so that's
Yeah.
middle grade.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I never got past Percy, but my daughter's a huge fan. I forgot. I'm also, not that I forgot the book because of that, but I wasn't including books that I was blurbing. I'm actually blurbing
Oh.
Betty Kay. I know I'm gonna say her
Corello?
Coyote.
One
Is
last
that-
shot.
Yes,
Yeah.
hers. It's Tell Me How You Really Feel. So I'm about 5 chapters in, and it's adorable. It's sweet. It's very very current, like in terms of what's happening in the media and stuff today. So it's good. But again, like you said, Jayci, it's not work, but like you have to be really present when you're reading it, right? It's not it's wonderful to read a romance novel, but it's not just falling into it with no expectations.
Yeah, it's an honor to be asked to do
Of
things
course it
like
is.
that. So I take it really seriously.
Yeah.
But I love it when I forget and
Yeah.
just fall into the book. That's like the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of falling into books, I just read for Austin Sigmund Broca and Emily Liberley, the book boyfriend. It was adorable. It was absolutely adorable. So that was a really great read too.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay for romance. It's amazing.
Right? Yeah.
I agree though. There's nothing better than when you get lost. When you're like, oh wait, I just ignored my kids for 2 hours. That was amazing.
Yes. And they're still alive, so it's fine.
Yeah. Oh, he's still watching TV. Oh well.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So when did you both know that writing was the right path for you? Because you both had and have like really cool jobs. So this isn't something that you were just like tripped over. This was an intentional choice. When did that moment happen for you?
For me, I've always kind of written from the time that I was young and through being a teenager and stuff, but intentionally trying to publish work started about 2013. So I guess just over 10 years ago. I'd actually gone to a publishing conference about, I was actually there as a teacher. It was a writing conference. And so when you bought the enrollment, you could see an agent. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll write a book to go. And I wrote a picture book. And so I got an agent from that, but it just kind of set me on this path. I never did publish a picture book. And I'm not currently with that agent anymore. It's like 2 agents ago. but it kind of set me on that path of like, oh, I would like to do this. I would like to actually write something that people read and something that makes me feel like I feel when I'm reading Nora Roberts. Or
Did you start with romance or did you start with cozies?
I started with picture books. Then I co-wrote 2 Christian romantic suspense books. And then I went to romance, and I was about probably 6 romances in when I went to cozies. And then so from that time on, I went back and forth. And then, of course, the whole Jodie Sophie thing is because when I signed for 10 Rules for Faking It with St. Martin's, I had a bunch of other books out under Jodie, and they wanted me to kind of have a fresh start as rom-com. And so that's where I got my pen name and went with that.
I knew that I wanted to specifically be a romance author since I was 14. But, I'm the daughter of immigrant parents. Of course, I went to law school instead, practiced law for 15 years, and realized like the year I was supposed to turn 40, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I don't write a book now, I might never write a book. So I wrote my first book in 2 months, second book in about 3.5 months. And then I had no idea how to publish a book. Like I just wrote them. And it wasn't until like a couple years later that I started trying to submit them. And,
that's amazing.
Yeah, find an agent and stuff like that. That sort of just happened, like snowballed.
Yeah.
But I will say I found my agent through the slush pile. I just cold submitted.
Yeah.
And she found me. So
I love that. Did you publish the first 2 books that you wrote?
yes, it's Sweet Mess and Temporary Wife Temptation.
Really?
Those are the 2
That's
books.
amazing. That's
And then
fantastic.
so I got a 3-book contract with Harlequin and a 3-book contract with St. Martin's Press. I had 6 books to write, so I had to make a career move. I couldn't I couldn't work 12 hours a day as a lawyer and write 6 books, so I chose romance. Yay.
Yeah. That's a good choice.
I feel very like I didn't realize that Temporary Wife Temptation was one of your first books.
That was the very first book that came out. That's my contemporary romance. It came out February of 2020. And then A Sweet Mess came out July of 2020. So it's like embroiled in all that pandemic drama.
Yes, 10 Rules is a pandemic book.
I feel so invested in both of you now. Like I started with both of you in that, like when your books were new. Like I feel so. Yeah. I had a friend who was like, Addie, you have to read Temporary Wife Temptation. It was like one of her favorite books.
Oh my gosh.
Whole year in 2020.
Awesome.
So I bought it on Kindle and I read it on ebook, and then I've like gotten, I don't know, St. Martin's copies of all of them since then. I just assumed that there were more back there. I didn't realize I was an early adopter. I feel so fancy.
Oh wow, yeah, that was the first book ever, Temporary Wife Temptation, and you read it. Awesome.
Yeah, I read all of those. They were great.
Yes, a lot. I had a lot of books come out in the last 4 years since I debuted.
So, what is your best tip, both of you, on time management? Like what is the thing that gets you moving through your day and helps you stay on track?
Oh boy.
You can say
My
that.
husband cooking dinner is a really big time management thing for me. My husband's a really good cook. When I started writing more, he started cooking more, and then he kind of fell in love with cooking. And so that makes it actually makes a big difference, because when I get home and, I kind of hang out a little after I get home from school, he's making dinner, he does the cleanup and stuff. So it gives me the opportunity to just kind of, sometimes I just veg and I'm like, do you want me to help? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay, even if I'm not writing. But I think a lot of people ask how you find the time, but I think you find the time for what you really want to have there. I do go to Pilates, but I wasn't, going to the gym 4 hours a week or going on hikes, or I used to bake a lot. And, now that any of those extra hobbies that I might have had get funneled into writing.
I do the whole, now that I don't practice law anymore, I used to only see my kids like half an hour to an hour a day when I was practicing. So I am making up for lost time, and I try to spend as much time with them as possible. And I love cooking, so I cook almost like every meal every day. And basically the only time I have to write is when the boys are at school. And they're at two different, like middle school, high school, and different schedules. So I have between 2 to 4 hours a day to write. So I just, it's necessity, it's survival. It's like, I have a book due, I must write, be creative on demand.
And that's always super easy.
Yeah.
It always seems to work out, though. I feel like even with podcasting, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't have anything for tomorrow. And something comes out, something happens. And it's always okay. So, okay.
I had to mute to swallow my water. I'm like, okay, let's go. There's like a bunch of questions in the chat thingy. That's cool.
I know, and they're really good ones. Do you want me to start them a few minutes early, or do you want to wait?
No, I'm just like squirrel distracted.
No, I know they're really good ones. I keep watching them, and I'm like, oh, I want to know this too. Now I can't ask that. Okay, so nobody has asked this yet. Oh no, they have. These are good questions. Okay, so do you ever think, Jayci, you'll write a rom-com set in Korea?
No, I am very stubborn about writing and representing Korean Americans. Korean culture and Korean American culture are completely two separate things. And I think there aren't enough books that show that. So until we're overrun with rom-coms with Korean Americans in them, I'm gonna have to keep writing them. And I haven't been to Korea in 40 years, so I don't.
Oh,
that's a problem.
Yeah,
that could be a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I should know this, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because off the top of my head, at 7:30 at night, I don't know that I know the answer. But Jody, are any of you
5:30 here?
Well, your brain is 2 hours fresher than mine.
It's really not, because I thought it was at 7:30 my time or 7 my time, and my family was like, "Why would you think that?" I'm like, "It's my book." You need to be online in half an hour.
I can't believe they didn't say, "Hey, Addie will be in bed."
Yeah. So I was like, "Yeah, that does seem kind of late for you guys. That's too bad."
Not for Jayci, but definitely for Addie.
Yeah. Wait, what were you going to ask me?
Are any of your books Canadian?
No, it's not. You don't see it a lot. I know right now there's a lot, and of course I'm not Jenny Holiday, so, or like there are some books set in Canada, the romance piece and stuff, and even cozy mysteries, but I don't see it a whole lot, and I feel like it doesn't have the same draw. I don't know why. I haven't even really wanted to. I really love New York, and I really love California so much, and I love small coastal towns like Oregon. Well, not that Oregon is a small coastal town, but the Oregon coast, little towns along there and stuff. So I tend to just go that way, right? And besides, it rains a lot here, so I like to. Well, I did choose a book and place it in Seattle, but that's about as close to home as I've gotten.
I didn't realize you were in Canada, Sophie.
I am. I'm in Vancouver, BC.
Oh, I'm 5:30 here too. I'm in LA.
I know. You're very lucky. I'm coming to LA next weekend.
Oh
I'm coming to the Rip Bodice.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
you
have
should
to try to
too.
come. I have to try.
Yeah, Fallon Ballard is there as well.
Ooh, yeah, we bonded because
Yeah.
we're table mates.
Yeah. You guys were so close. I was very jealous.
You were not near them at
I
Stevie
was
Lee?
not. I wasn't near anybody I knew.
Oh, that is sad.
And you know how good I am at meeting new people. Yeah. Amy wasn't with me. Matt wasn't with me. You weren't with me. Brenda wasn't with me. So I did not meet new people.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
What are you guys looking forward to? Like, what's next?
Summer? Oh, wait. You mean like for books?
Or summer.
Okay. Well, what are we looking forward to in our own book? Like in our own?
Or not in yours. I would like both, actually.
Okay. I am
Amazing.
looking forward to I'm thrilled that Can't Help Falling in Love is finally out. It's gotten lots of people have been posting on it and stuff. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited that I get to actually do some stuff around it. I've never had a book event. Like, I've gone and I've signed at stores and stuff like that. But typically when I do that, I just need to know where the bathroom is so I can tell people. Because that's typically what I spend the day doing. So going to the Rip Bodice next week and taking part in a couple of festivals in the next couple months is huge and very new for me. So I'm really excited about those things. So yeah. And otherwise, I'm just looking forward to, summer. I'm always counting down to summer, even though it just happened.
And you said you're going to be in Nashville.
I am going to Nashville. Yeah.
And you said you were going to be at another book event. Which one was it?
Yes, so there's the Bainbridge Island Book Festival the weekend of October 5th, and then the Southern California Book Festival is October 25th or 26th and 27th.
Okay. And then you'll need to be home for the holidays and regroup from all of that fun peopling.
Yes. So I was just asked if I plan on doing any traveling to the U.S. for Get Lost with You, which comes out in February. And I was like, oh, I would really love to go to the Novel Neighbor. But then I was like, I don't think anybody wants to go to St. Louis in February, right?
Only me. I'll go.
You'll go. So
St. Louis has an amazing book crowd. So St. Louis
I want to come.
show up.
I know, and I feel like they really would, and I want that. I just don't know if I have a warm enough coat.
Is it colder here than it is at your house?
Probably, yeah. We get a lot of rain. It's like it's not. I mean, I guess it gets really cold, but there's not a huge amount. Like you guys get snow all winter or something, don't you?
It depends on the winter. It's bananas.
Yeah, I guess that's true but here we get a ton of rain for the winter, and then I guess in January, February it does snow a bit. So
yeah,
we'll see. I'm thinking about it.
Okay,
we'll see.
You can come over and hang out on the farm.
Yeah, because it's so close to the bookstore.
It's not. So, Jayci, what are you looking forward to?
So I'm going to the New York Comic Con to be on an awesome panel. If anyone has, procured a ticket, I heard they're sold out, but if you're going, come check me out with my author friends. I don't think I'm allowed to say yet. And then I feel guilty talking about 2025 books because my 2024 books just came out like less than 2 months ago. But I am looking forward to my 2025 contemporary romance, Give Me a Reason. And that is a modern persuasion retelling with, of course, Korean American main characters. Frederick is a hot fire captain. And Anne is, I guess, she's Korean American, but she left Frederick to pursue acting career in Korea. And she comes back after 10 years. And they realize things they have most definitely not moved on. So there's that. And my second book in the realm of Four Kingdoms, Romantasy, is coming next year as well. It's called King Foretold, and I am looking forward to that as well. But for now, try to focus on that Princess Mine and Nine-Tailed Please.
But if you happen to scroll the Instagram, Give Me a Reason's cover is fantastic.
It's so gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's really, I just stopped when I saw it. I was like, it looks almost, honestly, it looks like a record cover. Like it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm like I didn't know that authors had so much say on the cover, because I just thought, why not? So I sent them like specific K-drama posters I love.
Yeah,
and I
got
said
an anime feel for sure.
Yeah, and then I told them which artists I would like to work with, and they just
Really?
made it happen.
That's
Well, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. I guess you just ask, and sometimes happens. So now you know.
Oh, you did good, because it's beautiful.
Okay, 2 things.
Okay.
Real quick, I'm reading in the chat. Haley says, people would so come to St. Louis. Come over, bestie.
I would love to, Haley. I would really like it. I'm considering it. It's really cold in February. And I don't mean just there. I mean like leaving my house to go to, right?
Listen,
like the whole
I'm
thing.
not going to act like there have not been Februarys when I've not left my house for 2 weeks at a time.
I feel like because I'll have another book come out, because I'm now up to 2 a year from St. Martin. So I'll have another book come out at this time next year. So I feel like that would be an ideal time to come to St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm down.
I'm going to put it out into the universe for Give Me a Reason, July 29th, 2025. I would love to launch it in person at the Novel Neighbor. So just
that would be amazing.
Out there in the universe.
For me, I could
July is a great time to go to the Novel Neighbor.
So I was in Kansas City for the Romance Con last year, 2023, and I loved it. So I'm really excited to go back to that area, and it's like all the great authors, romance authors, converge there for some reason. It's pretty cool.
Like a romance author community in Kansas City. Yeah. Like there's a handful like that I could think of off the top of my head.
Yes, like super talented, successful romance authors. It's like, what is going on? So.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's happening at some point.
Yeah.
It might just come in July.
Yeah.
Seriously. And Addie. It's fun.
Will there be is this going to be a series, or is this a standalone?
It's a standalone.
Okay.
There is a planned Pride and Prejudice retelling that I guess I am actually contracted to write. But I haven't thought that far out yet. I gotta one at a time.
One at a time. Okay, are you ready for these questions? Is there anything that I have missed that you want me to make sure that we talk about in the next 2 minutes?
I think I'm good.
No, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to ask them, and I don't know who asked them in general, because all I'm getting is in our.
Haley, she had a lot of questions.
So I'm going to ask
Haley, stop asking questions.
She's so curious.
Yeah. And then, yes, it's all Haley. Yes.
Yeah.
So, then I will ask the question and you both answer however you want, and we'll just cruise on through. How's that?
Sounds good.
So question number 1, I feel like trivia night.
Yeah.
How do you create your characters? Do they appear to you, or do you have to form them from scratch?
Jayci, do you want to answer first?
Sure. I have to form them from scratch. I am a pantser, or more aptly named discovery author, discovery writer. Seriously, I just discover.
I like
I discover the story as I write it, right?
That sounds much nicer.
Yes.
but I have to have my characters down. So I have an inkling, and then I kind of mull over it. Sometimes for a few days. It just depends when I jump in and start writing, but they are solid and like living human beings in my head by the time the two main characters, by the time I start writing.
I too am a discovery author. I feel like I know bits about them. So for like Everly Dean, I knew for sure she had hardcore anxiety, and she had trouble with her parents, and she was a radio show producer. But I really get to know my characters throughout. And I think probably as much as the editing process pains me, because I'm really like, I just get really overwhelmed with like making it good. Like, I feel like, I wrote the story, there you go, it's done. But then the editing process comes back, and I'm just getting to the point now where I'm like, okay, this is the part where I can really make it shine, which is what the whole point is. But then I really feel like I know my characters. I definitely have an idea, like in my head that, okay, this is who she's going to be and this is who he's going to be. But all of the secondary characters pop in as I'm writing, names, everything. So, when I'm writing Ethan the best friend, then it just, that comes in. It's like, oh, and he owns this and he does this and he's really funny. And so, yeah, they just kind of pop in there.
Okay, so I'm going to Addie some piggyback questions off of this. Are you ready?
Okay.
What about names? Do they come to you
God.
at the same time, or do you keep a running list, or do you steal them from people you meet in real life? Where do you get your names?
Some last names. I mean, I do have like a lot of students.
That's handy.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll combine things. Sometimes it's who I'm listening to. I'm positive somewhere out there I have a character with the last name Ramsey, because I'm obsessed with Matthew Ramsey from Old Dominion. Lots of times, who Maisie is, she's book 2 for Can't Help Falling in Love, and my daughters are obsessed with Maisie. Not Maisie. Is it Maisie Peters? Singer. Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, I love that name. And so, but the secondary characters often just jump in, or unfortunately, sometimes if you've read something, I'm like, oh, I love that name. And it's like, oh, that was the character in the book I just read, but that's okay. Right. I mean, I have in my class this year, I have 3 Logans, 4 Caitlins, 2 Chloes. So I'm like, it can be overlap. It's okay. It's realistic.
I just, I know my characters, right? And certain names sound right for them. So I just think about names and pick the one that sounds right for the character. And as for last names, Korean last names are limited. There are like, I don't know how many, 12 specific names, last names. So I have to pick from those and make sure I don't have characters with the same last name, like too many of them in the same book. And it's a process of varying the last names that are set and numbered.
Like, especially when you write series for both of you, do you keep track of those characters in a certain way so that you make sure that they're consistent and that you don't pick up?
That's a really good idea. You should do that.
I
strongly recommend somebody do that.
I'm like, Addie, I'm a discovery writer. I keep everything in my head.
If anybody wants to read through my books and write down all the character names, that would help me a lot.
Who in this group is type A and not writing a book?
And the side characters too, please.
Yeah. Okay, Jody wants a spreadsheet. What advice do you give to people who want to become an author?
But lots of people say, I was going to write a book too and stuff. It's like, well, you know what? Just try, right? Like, and just keep going. You can't, all the writing advice that you probably get is really cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. The only way you don't succeed somehow is if you stop. It might not be the path you expected. It might not be even the path you wanted the first time. but the only way that you don't succeed is if you stop or don't try.
I heard or saw on Threads or somewhere that they hate it when authors tell them this, but you have to finish the book. There's no right way. There's no one way to write. If you are short on time, then that 15-minute break you have, write. Hour before bedtime, write. If you can't be creative on cue, then find moments when you're creative, take 10 years, but finish the book. And that's the first step. And then you could worry about, finding an agent and how to do the submissions. So at that point, you'll have very specific questions to ask, and that is easier for us to answer from our experience, but it's going to be varied. So this is going to be your own journey, very distinct. But like Sophie said, you can't give up and you got to finish the book. And when you have that book in hand, then you do the housekeeping, which is getting it published.
In it, right? Like
Mhm.
find joy in it, because I think the one thing that happens, and I'm so appreciative of getting to write books, and I absolutely love it when I say I have 2 books due, and I'm stressed about that. I'm also elated about that. But when you do that first book, before you're actually doing it for an agent, or even if you have the aspiration to be published, there's no specific, editor in mind or anything like that. There's just nothing but joy in the story, and you have to focus on that. Right? If you get caught up in, well, which house will I send this to, or which agent, like none of that stuff matters as much as just diving into that story and telling it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who are your favorite romance authors?
Nora Roberts, Melissa Foster, Rainbow Rowell. I'm going to forget someone. Yeah, those are like my top 3 probably.
I'm gonna say Alexis Hall, Olivia Dade.
Nice.
I have so many others, but of course I blank out. There's so many talented people out there. It's hard to keep
there really
track.
are.
I love reading books that make me angry. Oh, Helen Huang. That make me, this is like a thing. I'm gonna sound like a mad person, but I love reading books that are so good that I get so mad that that person could be so talented. And then I want to like fall at their feet and worship them. So it's just like,
yeah.
And I love finding books. I love finding authors who make me feel that way because they're absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, The Kiss Quotient was one of my favorite books ever.
Megan Bannon. I love her books.
I don't know her.
So, hi, Megan.
Hi, Megan.
Okay. Jayci, you've written in romantasy, and Sophie, you've written cozies, but if you could write a different genre, what would it be?
I think romantasy would be fun. I would but I don't read fantasy, so I'd probably be really bad at it. Maybe thriller, but I don't read thrillers either. So yeah, maybe romantasy. Oh no, picture books. That's it. That's my final answer.
So this happened because I'm a discovery writer. I wrote Nine-Tailed, and people are telling me how it's this genre blending and all of that, and there's mystery.
You're welcome.
And I'm like, there's mystery.
I knew everything that happened.
Maybe mystery could be fun, but I also definitely want to write more fantasy-focused fantasy book. There might be romantic elements, but I do want to write a traditional fantasy because like along with romance, fantasy is the genre that I go to most often. So that's truly my escape. So it'll be amazing.
That's awesome.
It'll be amazing if I could write a fantasy novel.
Do you have a favorite fantasy that you've read?
Discovery of Witches. um, what is it? The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, right? Midnight Circus. Just
Beautiful books. We just became best friends.
Bestie.
Yeah. What are your favorite food dishes? And it does not say whether to cook or eat, so you guys go your direction.
Anymore.
I'm starving, so oh my gosh, don't get me
my husband's
started.
cooking me food. Yeah, I love tzatziki, pita bread, Greek salad, and cookies. I could be sustained on that, and maybe some cereal. I really love cereal.
Okay, Korean food. I love 보쌈, which is like braised pork belly wrapped in like Napa cabbage with pickled radish and all the yummies. So it's crunchy and savory and spicy, and there's a hint of sweet in there. So that's one of my faves.
And it sounds like you probably can cook it.
I have made it, but it's a challenging dish because the pickled radish thing, it's a type of kimchi, but it's made with like the Japanese daikon type thing. There's a Korean version called mu, and you could make it's kimchi is very challenging. I'm like a little scared to go on that journey, but I'll do all the marinades and Korean barbecue and all that. But the food I could just eat all the time is pho. So I'm starving, guys. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It is dinner time where we are, right?
Yes, it is.
Right. We're on the West Coast. It is dinner time. So
okay. Are you ready for the next one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is the swooniest thing a man can do?
In real life or in my books?
I don't know. I have no context. That's all I got.
Sophie, go.
No pressure.
What's the swooniest thing a man can do? Oh man. This is a hard one. I just like getting hugs, like just random, no reason, just walking past each other in the hall and I get a hug for no reason. I really like that.
I was talking about this somewhere in books. I love it when the hero washes the heroine's hair. It's just, it's just beautiful, just sensual and swoony to the max.
Yeah. Okay, if we're going books, forehead kisses. Those are good too.
Yes. In real life, I love it when my husband tells me I'm smart.
My husband never tells me that.
I love it when mine.
I'm teasing, by the way.
I know.
Yeah, gets mad at the paper.
We get it.
Like, I love it when he's like outraged by someone not treating, like, you know what I mean? Like when something doesn't go the way that it probably should, and he's like, what? Like when he gets annoyed, like in my behalf, I love that.
Aww. My 13-year-old boy is like that. He's going to be a feminist for sure.
Aw, I love that.
Okay. We have 7 minutes, so we're going to knock these out.
Okay.
All right.
When writing a vulnerable character, do you have to put yourself in a vulnerable mindset?
Yes.
I live in a vulnerable mindset.
Yeah. I write and become very, very vulnerable as well. That's
just my default.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very vulnerable, like heart on my sleeve kind
of person. You write and cry?
I don't cry, but I'm well medicated. So
you do cry, Jayci?
After really good scenes, like I just wrote a scene recently waiting for my son to finish his swim practice. I'm riding in the car, and he finishes and comes in the car, and I look at him and I have like tears streaming down my face. I'm like, I just wrote this scene. And I so that was last week.
Oh,
I love that. Okay, Jayci, do you watch K-dramas? If so, do you have any recommendations?
I watch K-drama in very small doses because I am addicted to them. I had to quit cold turkey when I had my first son. And when, I guess maybe 5 years ago, that was pretty recent, I started allowing myself to watch like one or two. So my favorite K-drama that I could think of right now is The Goblin. Or I also saw it translated as The Guardian. So it's about this immortal being and him finding the, bride, the girl destined to be his bride, and so good.
Okay. Haley question. If your books were songs, what would they be?
oh, this one would be So High School. And it's funny because a reviewer said something about I know you're not supposed to read reviews, but that's ridiculous. They said something about like nobody feels that way when they're out of high school. I'm like, I feel that way, and I just found out I have like a 30-year high school reunion this weekend. I'm not going, but like you do still feel that way. I think, you get caught up in those situations where you're, especially with Instagram and things like that, it's comparative culture, and I feel like you do feel that way. So the So High School works really well.
Haley's very excited about that. Taylor Swift mentioned it.
Yes, because Taylor Swift.
What about you, Jayci? If that prince, or either of your two books, or any of your books?
Oh, this is based on that boy. The Boy Is Mine.
Brandy.
Yeah,
Right?
and then
my God, I loved when that song came out.
And then Ariana Grande did a remix or new version of it, I think.
Yep.
And Give Me a Reason is Just Give Me a Reason by Pink. Yep.
Nice.
Yep, that's fantastic.
Is there a trope you'd love to write but haven't had the chance yet?
I would like to write like the have to be married one. Like they're married. Married to Convenience, that's what it is. Yeah, I would like to write that, but I just can't figure out why they'd be married. So
it almost always involves an inheritance.
Yeah. So
or a custody battle.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll think about that.
So yeah, I would like that. Temporary Wife Temptation is a marriage of convenience book, and there's a custody issue.
Nice. See? Addie knew. Addie always.
I told you I'd read it. No.
That's so funny. I love reading enemies to lovers romance. I don't think I've written a true enemies to lovers, but since I am contracted to write that Pride and Prejudice retelling, so I guess I am going to be
yeah, there you go,
writing one. So stay tuned. I don't know, I feel so bad. I don't want to come across as like I don't want to hurt the hero's feelings too much, or I love my characters. I don't want to write them to be mean so that the readers hate them. So it's a hard balance.
I think if you think of movies like 2 Weeks Notice, have you watched that?
I love that movie.
I love that movie too. I love it so much. He's so annoying to her, but he's lovable. And I think if you have that ability, and especially because if it's dual point of view, you have that ability to make them see the other. Because I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't want to write a really mean character, right? But if you can balance it with the kind of like, this is annoying to me because of this, and then eventually those are the actual traits and quirks that they fall in love with. So
I'll keep that in mind. I need to.
And then you can tell me
figure
how to
that
write a
out.
marriage of convenience. A custody battle.
May I refer you to temporary wife temptation?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
it's been titled and repackaged as the I Do Dilemma.
Oh,
Adorable illustrated cover. So check it out.
Okay.
Right.
So it's 8
you did it.
o'clock in my house.
You did it.
We did it.
6 o'clock in my house.
And now you can go eat dinner.
I know.
I'm not ready to go yet.
Aw.
Okay, so for everyone watching, be sure to buy all of their books, including Temporary Wife Temptation, at the Novel Neighbor or novelneighbor.com. I order online all the time and they ship them directly to my house. So grab your books and enjoy reading. And if you think about it, you can DM me and I'll talk to you about the books anytime on Instagram. I'm there all the time. So thank you so much to both of you for coming. Thank you for letting me talk to you. I feel so special.
Thanks for being here and
Thank
celebrating my
you so
release day with me, both
much.
of you.
Thank you. Congratulations on your release,
Thank you.
Sophie. It
And good
is
luck
the
in New York.
sweetest autumn feels book. So if you are ready for sweater season, put it on.
I think a lot of people
and read
are.
this.
Looks fall, doesn't it? Like it just
Yeah.
It's a good cover.
It is a good cover.
Foliage.
Yes.
So I don't know. Do we just stop this?